For over 30 years, I've been working with TV and film, but my love of technology goes back way beyond that. When I was a kid, I used to cut out newspaper clippings and magazine pictures of the technology of the day. We're talking VCRs and stereo systems and TVs and stuff like that. It's what we had back then. Long before the internet and streaming and mobile phones and computers and smart devices and all this kind of stuff, what do we have? We had actual analog components, right? The things that you could put your hands on and use to play video and to listen to music. And I would cut these out and I put them on my wall in my bunk bed to simulate the cockpit of a spaceship. But also, I wanted buttons. I could imagine a future where I could do more. Fast forward to high school, anytime I could get my hands on a video camera, I would make videos. And I did this as much as I could for both school and play and family events. And then I would edit them. I'd take whatever camcorder I was using, hook it up with cables to the VCR, and play, pause, and I would actually edit. And then I realized this is what I wanted to do with my life. So I went to college, and that's where I studied film and TV production. The first editing that I ever did was tape to tape. Okay, analog SVHS tape to tape, which requires two VCRs basically to a third. Okay, so these are high-end professional tape decks, and you'd play, record, and you set in and out points, and that's how I learned to edit. But everything changed when I discovered Avid, or maybe it discovered me. Avid, the go-to professional Hollywood level editing system to this day. If you go to their Instagram for Avid technology, you will see all of the major Hollywood films are still cut on Avid systems. So why do I bring up Avid? Well, I am a certified Avid editor, a certified Avid tech support guy, and I work professionally in the TV and film industry for well over a decade, traveling from Hollywood to New York to Chicago in between. I've been to Oprah's place, major film studios. I've been up to Canada, to Toronto, to Montreal, all the way down to Texas. So all four corners, if you will, of the continental United States or North America, I've been there. I've been boots on the ground, working with film and TV production studios and stuff like that. And I would sell them all this high-end equipment to make TV and film. So technology has always been hand in glove with my love of video, my love of content creation, is what we call it these days. Back then it was video production. And so seeing this evolution of technology, I've seen it from one thing to another. When I installed high-end Avid video systems, there was a video processing board. Now, this is before we had multi-core, amazing processors with with RAM and motherboards that could keep up with the bandwidth needed for high def and 4K and beyond video editing. Well, we needed separate processing boards for all the functionalities, okay? So these were offloading all of that processing power to separate boards in PCI slots and stuff like that of the, whether it's a Mac or an IBM or HP or whatever flavor of PC we were using. And I watched one of these boards once, okay? This sucker was at least $10K, if not $10,000 to $15,000 for the processing board and effects. And it wasn't even real time. They were amazing and brilliant effects. I'd installed that board. They paid like $15K just for a bunch of effects inside their Avid system. Here's the catch. A year later, I'm pulling that board out and it's basically junk. Okay? It's ready to collect dust on the shelf over here. So that's how technology works. As we get faster and bandwidth grows and processing power, and as we know now, you can do real-time effects right on your phone. You can actually cut, you can live stream straight from a mobile device in your hand. So things have changed a lot, haven't they? Same goes for live video production, streaming, and that kind of thing. For well over a year, I've used OBS Studio, okay? Open broadcasting software. OBS Studio, a lot of you may know it, but a new player has come on the scene called Meld Studio. And that's what we're talking about here today, Meld Studio. Well, with OBS Studio, I have found it to be rock solid. I'm not even sure I've ever seen the software crash. I don't believe not once. I can minimize it. I can do all kinds of things. I can run other processes and it's still recording or it's still processing or my feeds are still coming through like my live camera and my microphone and stuff like that. It has been rock solid. And that's what I want out of software. I want software that is rock solid, dependable, and professional level. And for this kind of stuff, for a free open source software like OBS, it's mind blowingly amazing. It truly is. And I feel very blessed to have it. But when Meld came out, it kind of sparked my curiosity. There are other softwares out there, and I'm sure you can make a million videos about all these, but this one kind of caught my eye. And I wanted to talk about it, and that's what we're going to do today. We're going to take a deep look at Meld Studio. Is it worth it? Is it ready for prime time? And I relate all of this back around to Avid. Avid is the gold standard. This is my opinion, but also the opinion of professionals across the world that use Avid systems for video editing and for storage and all that kind of stuff. Avid is the gold standard because it works. It is the grandfather. It is like one of the very, back to the film composer, the very first video editors that actually meant something. Avid is. So if Avid is the gold standard of video editing, I've seen many other video editors come and go, from Premiere, Adobe software, to Final Cut Pro, to a handful of others that have tried to compete. And yes, can they cut, edit video? Yes, of course they can, but they're not an Avid. So I hold Avid to be that gold standard, okay, for video editing and for creating video and content like that. Well, at this time, I hold OBS Studio to be that Avid level gold standard. That being said, let's take a look at Meld Studio. Let's dive right in. It's going to be my first time reaction, my first time truly using the software. I look forward to it, guys. Thank you for being here. The Loudboy Tech Experience. I'm Eric. Let's go. Okay, so here we go. Now we're going to fire up the Meld software. Meld, of course, shares a lot of similarities with the basic kind of look of OBS. Right off the bat, you can see that we have a layers section in the upper left hand. The scenes section, we can have different scenes. This is your program window. And then down here we have our audio mixers. And over here we have an output section. We also have record as well. Now, if we come up here to File and Preferences, you can go in here and set some of your preferences for the software. From the general, there's also a multi-canvas where it says it can actually produce both horizontal and vertical content at the same time, going to your audio settings, advanced, and so on. So that's under Preferences. If you go to File, pull down Preferences. Unlike OBS software, though, there is not a lot of choices, right? And there's just not as much here as far as being able to tweak and go in and change settings in different parts of the software. It's just it doesn't have that breadth of usability yet. However, if we go into layers, okay, click the you cannot actually right click like we can in OBS, but you can click the plus sign layers, and you can see here we can add a video device, display capture, media source, image, a web browser, the duplicator, text, markdown, a rectangle, and then different widgets. So I'm going to start with video device. First up, it shows you a box basically where your future screen will be, and right now it's set to 640 by 360. And then here you can change your actual device. I'm going to go to my Elgato 4K Pro. That's where my video camera is coming in. And then right there. And actually, it did resize it to its native resolution, which is set to full HD, 1920 by 1080. So right off the bat, yeah, you can see that we have our window with our camera in it. Now, if we take over here and look at the right, okay, this is where we can actually transform and change the opacity. And we're gonna do some other stuff in just a moment here, but I want and then they have these different effects as well in presets. For instance, let's just do a couple. If you click on black and white, we get a black and white look. You click on hologram, we get a hologram look, or what they call a hologram look. And you can scroll down, you can see even more down here from tritone to scan lines, luminance, pixel gam, ghost. Sorry, you got the gist, right? Different effects. This is actually pretty cool. Without plugins, okay, it does have these built-in effects. Now, also under effects, if you click on that tab, so here's presets, and then to the right, effects. If you click on the plus sign, we have a whole list, okay, of different effects that you can add. And of course, these do work in real time, okay, because this is like a broadcast type software and they need to work in real time. All right, so that's what we can do. Just some basic functionalities from the presets to the effects and so on. All right, so let's get out of here. I'm going to go add another video source now. Okay. And I believe it's under this. All right, so this is a second camera that I have set up. Okay. So now I actually have two cameras. You can see my hand moving. This is a kind of a look down at my desk. All right. So now I have two cameras going. Or if I wanted to have this one here and then reposition mine like this, I could have two camera sources running simultaneously, of course, right? And actually, that did snap to the middle. That's actually kind of cool. It's snapping to some different grid lines. I like that. Yeah, that's not bad. All right, being able to easily align them. So there's two different sources. We can also come in and add a media source. So if I want to go and grab a location, if I want to go and grab a piece of video, I could do that. So let's go grab some kind of recent video that I have. There we go. All right, let's go to. Yeah, here we go. Let's just choose one of my Zelda videos. So I'm going to choose this video right here. All right, so that is actually me in a video playing. Okay, this is the beginning of one of my Zelda videos. I have camera. We'll do camera B there, camera A here. Okay, and did I just lose the preview on that? That's interesting. I had just lost the preview on that. I'm wondering why. Hmm. And that didn't help any to put it there. That's interesting. Okay. Let's hide this video so as to not to confuse it with my and let's actually delete this. I'm gonna delete this layer. I can right click on that and delete that. So here's this camera here. My this has stopped showing up. Well, that's interesting. Like I said, there's some weird stuff going on. I did okay, now we're back. All right. Hey, I can't explain it. Remember what I was saying about how OBS is rock solid? Well, I'm not getting that vibe here. Again, I'm not here to trash the software. I'm just here to show you what I've found thus far. So that's what we're doing. All right. So again, we have camera A, camera B, and we can also come in here and bring in different images as a background. Okay. So if I wanted to come in here and go and grab, my goodness sakes, what could I grab? All right, let's grab that. All right, so this is an image I used for one of my videos, Loudboy Experience Live. And so say if I want to just resize that and put that here and put this over here, I can have this image be so basic layering, okay? As you'd expect, like we have in OBS. Now there is some cool stuff here where this software kind of has some pretty cool functionality here. Um, let's get rid of that for now, and let's hide that. And let's make this, and instead of just having, pulling this at will, you can actually say, you can stretch it to, well, hold on, that didn't do it. I meant to do it over here. Okay. All right. So putting this full size again. Now, they've made a lot of noise about, okay, the people that have this software have how you can actually pull these little corners right here and do rounded corners. Another cool effect is that it does have a built-in DVE, okay, digital video effects, where I can actually resize and and re here we go. I can resize that, but being able to pull these corners in to get easily rounded corners. Okay, and also we have up here we can square this up, turn it into a circle, or go vertical like that, which is actually pretty cool. Let's see, will it snap to back to? Yeah, almost. Not quite a snap. Let's see if I hold down Shift. Yeah, okay, Shift does it right. Holding down Shift like it does in Photoshop stuff like that. All right, so by default, it is keeping. All right, so yeah, so it is maintaining this shape now. So if I wanted to go back to square, but I could have a square with rounded corners. Okay. And then I do have a crop mode as well. All right, where I can actually crop at will. If, so if I wanted to keep like this part of my frame like that, I could do that. And then from there, let's turn this back into a circle. Oh, I got to get out of crop mode. There we go. Um, and then with the circle in place, I can now reframe that. And as you can see, they just pulled these little handles in until it formed a circle. The radius came down to that. Now, you have those, we actually have these on-screen buttons that we can use, which is pretty cool. But over here, we also have these transform buttons, okay? Where, as you know, the x-axis goes this way and the y-axis goes this way. And z is that three-dimensional, okay? From front to back of your image. So x and y. So as I come over here and change in the y, okay, and change my x, and then it has them locked right now, okay, as you'd want to keep the aspect ratio the same. But you can actually unlock them, of course, if you wanted to change and stretch an image. So I'm going to do Control Z to undo, lock them back up, and then it'll keep that right there. And then, of course, we have our individual. You can actually do individual or so. For instance, right here, if I wanted to do just one corner, okay, and then maybe this corner or this corner, then you could do some actually kind of some cool shapes, right? This kind of oblong looking shape, right? Almost like a football. Okay. And as you can see, as I'm pulling through the x-axis, it's wanting to snap to that, which is nice. Okay, you want some functionality like that if you're going to do on the screen manipulation, stuff like that. All right, so there's just a little bit what we can do with the corners and with the positioning, but as I mentioned before, the ability to do rotation easily on screen is very cool. Now, to the presets and effects, we looked at a couple of these before, but you can actually dive in and go deeper with them. So, for instance, here's a tritone. Right now, it is set to this, and I'm going to come back out here. Is that There we go. That button reset it. This button right here. Okay. All right. So with a tritone, I'm going to come up here and not that. If so, basically, yes, we have the presets, but under effects, what we can do is you can see we have tritone. Okay. Now, if you click on these right here, you can actually change what those colors are. All right. So if I wanted, say, a green color instead for that, for the medium, for the highlight color, I wanted it to be, as you can see, check that out. It's actually changing, which in some softwares that's called secondary color correction. where it chooses one value on the screen and changes just that, but not everything else. This is kind of like that. This is more having to do with the low, the mid, and the high of the colors, if you will. But and so on. And then if I go to low, I can change what the low is. So you can actually, you can get some kind of cool looking effects if you want to do some kind of weird stuff. Now, if I don't care for this, don't like the tritone, just hit that minus button. It's gone. I'm gonna now I can go to gradient, okay? So because some built-in gradients, and then again we check on our little settings bar right here, and we have linear, and we actually can do a radial gradient, okay? Meaning it's circular or whether it's going straight across like linear, and then we can choose the starting points. So that's kind of cool. Do some different gradients. If I want something besides blue, I can do something besides blue, going like a purple hue like that and change this purple hue to maybe so now okay not my favorite colors, just kind of giving you an example. All right, I'm going to click on the plus sign again and let's do oh no, this is going to be cool. This is a Gaussian blur, which is actually one of my favorite blurs, by the way. Okay, I love the Gaussian blur. I use it in Photoshop all the time. So in here I can actually change how blurred I want. So for instance, it'd be great for a background, right, to use for a background. And you can also choose whether it's a horizontal or vertical or both, how it's actually blurring it. Okay. So that's the Gaussian blur. Let's do one other. All right. Yep. And oh, yeah, I mean, classic right there, right? This is definitely like what late '80s, early '90s. Some really good effects right here. I think actually I played with that in one of my videos in college. Big mistake, but hey, we have to learn. And then here's a bulge effect where I can actually change. Okay. This is pretty darn cool. Okay. The ability to do these types of effects, and I can do more than one. If I wanted to do a glow style, okay. Um, let's see. Outer glow, center glow, inner glow. So basically, what this is doing is it's giving us a glow kind of border around our video. All right, and right now I have it on center. Or you can have it meaning so you have the edge of the image, right? Center means that it's gonna have a glow on both inside and outside of each edge, right? It makes sense. And then one has for an outer be on the outside, and one be the inner be on the inside. So why is that important? Well, you can do some cool stuff with this, right? Having a cool glowed edge, if you want that for your video frames, uh, so if I have this right here, and then I have my other video in the background right here, okay? And I'm gonna go reorder them. I'm just clicking and dragging over here on the left in the layer. And then what I can do is now, whoops. And by the way, I can just click on them and I'm switching between sources. Okay, I'm just doing a left click on my mouse. So right here is I can actually come in, resize, you can see that outer glow. Now, this is what I wanted to mention to you before is if I'm gonna click on this background layer, and as you can see, when I switch between these two different layers, it shows me, look in the bottom right-hand side, that this layer, of course, has that glow that I put on it. But when I click on the background, it has no effect on it because I didn't put one there yet, but I can put that Gaussian blur. Okay. Now I can actually have this, like I mentioned before, a blurred out background and switching this. And now I have a kind of a cool blur and a glow around this camera. So these are pretty cool effects. All right. There is some promise here. In fact, here's an idea. I would love to see a merger bring this technology to OBS. All right. Have one parent company lovingly take on both, bring them together and have because this is some pretty cool stuff. I wish I had some of the stuff natively without plugins, without adding in that kind of stuff to OBS. I wish I had it in OBS. which makes me kind of ponder the possibilities here. I don't believe, and there are several major shortcomings I've seen with the Meld software. I'm not going to mention them all to you, but it had to do with functionality, had to do with depth of settings and abilities, but also its stability as well. I had major issues trying to get it to run on my laptop. And my laptop is in some ways more powerful than the tower that I'm using right now, but I digress. Or it didn't like that certain flavor of capture card, and it's a 4K capture card, USB going to my laptop. Did not see the source whatsoever. However, I have multiple from a built-in board in my 4K card to capture and multiple other ways, meaning I have all these different sources coming to my tower and they work just fine. I don't know what the difference is, but it does point to some shortcomings in the Meld software thus far. They're just there. It's new software. And here's the thing, OBS has been around for 12 years. All right. 12 to 13 years. It came out like around 2012 and has been in constant development by many, many different people. It's open source and it's just a brainchild of a bunch of insanely intelligent guys, right? That built, guys and ladies who built the software. But Meld is brand new. All right. And while they've brought a stable of really cool effects and stuff to the software, it does have its shortcomings. All right. That being said, I'd love to see them come together because I would love some of this stuff in OBS, because this has actually been really easy to add as well. So again, I can add to the glow style if I wanted to go in, add say one more thing. I'm gonna go tint, all right, and I'm gonna click on this tint, and then all right. So it's telling me if it's black, I'm gonna set. I can tell black to be set to a different color, all right. So I can actually tint this up. Which actually, let's get rid of that. I saw an effect in here. It was the oh, come on, where is it? Um, yeah, sepia. Where's sepia? Oh, what was that? Maybe in the presets. It probably is. It's probably like a tritone or a tint built in. Yeah, there it is. So say if I wanted to do, wow, that is intense. All right, so a little bit too much in the sepia there. But yeah, they're using the CC toner. But if that's too much, you can tone that down. All right, you can bring down how much sepia you want and actually which parts of the image you want to be sepia, for example. And right now, that's kind of a retro kind of look, isn't it? Where it's taking my flesh tone and kind of browning it out and muting some of the blues in the background because of how it's toning the image. So if I have that there, now what I did is I lost my glow. Okay, there it is. So now I have the glow and the toner or the sepia type thing at the same time with a Gaussian blur. Of course, they're quote playing in real time, but at the same time I can come in here and round these edges, okay? Or I could go straight up round with it if I want and have me on screen in a circle. This is pretty cool. All right. These effects and this DVE, this digital video manipulation, okay? And there is actually a 3D thing as well where I can actually, let's reset this, where it brings in a actual kind of a 3D DVE, a corner pin, if you will. All right. Where it's changing the perspective of my video. It's pinning one and it's actually skewing that, right? Quote in 3D space, pinning it out here, but in the Z plane, pulling it back. And it's a kind of a skew effect, if you will. So it does have that as well. And then there's the 90s effect. Speaking of child of the 90s here. Um, and then again, hitting that reset button. All right, hold on. There we go. No effect. Right now, and this seems to be uh, this is one of the biggest draws of this software. And what I was pondering is what I'm thinking about is the possibility that we could use the software for certain effects. Okay. We could use this software and in conjunction with OBS. All right. If you needed a certain kind of effect or do a certain kind of overlay or just wanted a simple composite of things, record that out and use that in your OBS stream. That's a possibility, meaning using the real time tools and effects that Meld has. That's where my mind's going right now because I don't see it replacing OBS, not for a long time, but thinking about it as another tool. Okay. All of this software from Avid to OBS, possibly Meld. I use Photoshop constantly in different effects programs for video processing. All of these different softwares are simple tools, right? I have a toolbox, and I open up that toolbox, and here's my Avid, here's my Photoshop, and here's this effect, and then oh yeah, I use OBS, and I have all these different tools. Okay, from screwdrivers to wrenches, they each serve a function, they each have a task and a duty and something to perform for me. So, what if this were one of them? And that's what I'm pondering right now. Okay. Not completely replacing, but adding to. So, I think that might be a possibility. And we haven't even really talked about audio yet, but yes, there's an audio mixer down here. And wherein you actually have different ways to pan and different audio. You can add different audio sources. We have scenes, and there's another function that I have not mentioned yet, which is actually kind of cool. If you look at my, let's switch this up here and get rid of this Gaussian blur. Done. All right, check out my right here on my desktop. This is my Stream Deck. Okay, it does have integration with the Stream Deck. And if I pull up my Stream Deck software, all right, and I go down to Profile 2, yes. What I did is I was able to, using the plugins for Stream Deck, okay, Elgato Stream Deck, I went to their plugin store in their place where we do that, and I downloaded the Meld Studio, and you can see them right here, all right, where I can have a record button and a go live button, or I can have a muting a track button, or a layer visibility, and so on. So yes, it does have Stream Deck functionality baked right in where I can actually use my Stream Deck with the Meld software. That's nice. I'm really glad that they added that because I love my Stream Deck. I love using it with OBS. I use it all the time. And if we look right here, if I come back to my Stream Deck, go to my other profile, boom, done. All right. If you look here on my desktop, you can see that um, yes, I use these are just some of the buttons I use with OBS when I'm doing, say, live streaming, but even with my recording. I have a simple record button, and so if I happen to be in OBS or possibly Meld, I just I just click over here and I click this bottom right button right here, and I can hit record and stop recording and so on. But I also have buttons on there for a laugh track or applause when I'm doing a live stream. That'll actually trigger audio files that are sitting on my computer. So again, the Stream Deck's great. If you guys don't have one, like Ferris Bueller says, I highly suggest you pick one up. Um, so yeah, so it has the Stream Deck functionality baked in. So my takeaway, yes, and we haven't even talked about. Let's do one more thing, and then we'll wrap this up. All right, let's go over to preferences right here. You can see under preferences, you can see right now the canvas, it can actually go up to 4K UHD. Right now, the frame rate is set to 60. You can also do 30. You can set the video bit right here as well. And so this is for like live streaming, and then here's recording output. Okay, how do I want to record it in what flavor? It can do a QuickTime MOVs, MKVs, or actually you can actually output to Flash video. So it is not the in fact, it's kind of funny that um OBS, its settings. All right, if you guys use OBS, you know. You've been in there and looked at the vast array of codecs, different flavors of codecs that it has. And you know, codec means code decode, right? It's the way in which a computer or computer software takes a piece of video or audio and puts a container or wrapper around that and compresses it. Okay, it encodes it, and then the engine on the other end decodes it. We use it daily. Every time you stream, you're using a codec. You know, whether it's most of the time MP4 these days, or maybe it's Flash or some other flavor of video or QuickTime, depending on where you are on the internet. There's a bunch of different codecs that actually run and stream constantly 24/7 from the internet. Well, this being said, OBS has a massive array of them and lots of them built in. And it's almost too much sometimes. For the for if you don't know what you're doing, you can be blown away by the scale and depth of what's there. That can be a great thing though, having that minutia of detail in which you can tweak and alter that you need to get something done. For instance, if I wanted to encode something directly to an Avid codec, okay, some kind of HD, a high quality, high definition codec, wrapped up in a QuickTime movie container that I can import instantly and natively or link to inside my Avid system, I can do that. That's wonderful and that's amazing in having that there. Mel doesn't quite have that yet. It doesn't mean they won't get there. So it's the breadth and of the tools and such. And by the way, real quick, while we're here, as you can see, I have some extra border on this video. I clicked up here right above the video, click the crop button, and I can crop this sucker down to where it's just right here, undo the crop, and now that's set. So again, cropping is easy. And now I have this video running right there. So Meld Studio, is it ready for prime time? No, not in my opinion, not yet. Is it a complete dud, not worth checking out? I wouldn't go that far either. Could it be a tool that you could add to your toolbox for video production? Yeah, maybe. Yeah. So maybe download it, check it out, look around at some of these effects. If you can start thinking creatively, like, oh, I could use that in one of my videos, then check it out and then figure out a way to use this in the pipeline of your video production from point A to point B. How can I fit this piece of the puzzle in there? I'm going to keep giving this some thought. And when I come up with something, a way in which we can use it in the pipeline, use it as one of the tools in our toolbox for video production, then I'm going to share that with you. All right, we'll do another video about this because again, going from point A to point B is vital. It's what we call a workflow. All right, in the professional video space, there's all these buzz terms like any different industry across the world, and workflow is a big one. But it is that workflow. For instance, I use a workflow daily of OBS. I use DaVinci, but I use Avid for editing. So I use a lot, and of course, Photoshop for graphics, and I use all these different softwares to get from point A to point B, from capturing and recording video to editing, to then doing post production, to re-encoding it so I can stream it online. That entire workflow, okay, around the horn and back again to the internet, that workflow is vital. Now, how can Meld possibly fit in there? And using some of these real-time effects and capabilities that it has. When I think of it, I'll let you know. Guys, thank you so much for being here. I'm Eric. This is the Loud Boy Tech Experience. You guys have an awesome day. Bye.